In just 2 years, AI changed my life, and there's a good chance it affected your life as well. There are obvious reasons I'm making this video, but now let me take you on a journey to discover how deep the AI rabbit hole really goes. Alright, let's pause here. For everything to make sense, we need to rewind a bit. Ever since I can remember, my mind has always been filled with vivid imagery. I can still remember my first dream at 4. A spiral of colors pulling me into its core. It's always in those quiet moments when left alone with our thoughts, when imagination can really run wild. Drawing became my way to express these visions. Even if only partially, I loved it, and still do. But there are some memories I can't shake off. To put it simply, my work wasn't great. I loved the process, that feeling of putting each line on paper, exploring, not knowing what the final result will be. But I quickly realized I wasn't naturally gifted. My parents, though, were convinced I should attend the art school simply because I enjoyed drawing. They dismissed my other passion, computers, as just games. Back then, AI was known to me only from fictional franchises like The Terminator or The Matrix, or just computer games, which I was a big fan of. But deep down I knew I was probably too chaotic to be good at art. An educational system wasn't fitting my specific case at all. I literally couldn't finish one piece. But imagination was different. Without much of an effort, I could envision just anything. Those were production-ready scenes with perfect clarity. But bringing them to life, that's where I always fell short. No matter how much patience I had, it always ended the same. And when I did finish something, the criticism was relentless. What even is balance? How do others just instinctively sense it? For many years, we have improved our tools. The loudspeaker and vinyls allowed us to have entire orchestra at home. In case of art, for thousands of years, most of the work was done manually. Technology of graphic tablets didn't improve on that as much as we may think. We still need to know how to paint and compose, on top of that, how to operate a program. And there we go, baby! Nobody was ready for the next step. That moment, when there isn't something, and suddenly, there is. Man, drawing is so hard and takes so much time and effort. If only a device existed to convert thoughts directly into images, I would pay everything. Sometime after the release of DALL-E 2, I was casually scrolling Google looking at the current state of AI images, and then I came across a website, Midjourney. What's that? This is so good. No, it cannot be generated. It's probably the first time I resonated with AI art on emotional level. I began scrolling through Discord. That happened to be their entire platform. and quickly discovered that everything here was public. Every image and prompt was visible to anyone? Well, together with your account and generation time, and hard limit on your free tier generations, which are then trained on your selected artwork. That didn't sit well with me. Immediately, a thought crossed my mind. What if there is a special version of it that can be run on the local machine? And of course, how many people are thinking the same now? It was time to act. I wasn't expecting much, but the top search result led me to something called Stable Diffusion. What's this? A program and algorithm? Nani? It won't work. There's no way it will work. So there were at least 4 different diffusions. I picked Stable Diffusion because it seemed the most recent and stable. But after some diligent searching, following the instructions, enduring numerous errors, I eventually got it to run on a low VRAM mode, which meant...
Three hours later.
What? It's cheaper. Cheaper than I remember. It's probably due to upcoming release of RTX 4090. This investment is gonna be crucial. It's my last savings, but it's for the future, isn't it? I am just one click away from bringing my fictional world to life. Damn it. Just click. Just do it! And I didn't yet know my greatest AI journey just started by clicking a single button. On August 22nd, 2022, Stability AI announced a release of Stable Diffusion, a free and open source system for easily generating images on your own computer without paying anyone. So there is this rich guy named Imad, and he decided he wants to use this money to change the world by offering free and powerful generative models to once and for all democratize art, making it possible for everyone. Despite being noticeably worse than its closed-source competitors, Stable Diffusion had one major advantage: the community. Back then, I wasn't prepared of what I was about to see. Impatiently waiting for my GPU to come, I was just trying everything, for example experimenting with official Stability AI platform, Dream Studio, but it was rather limited. Luckily, I didn't have to wait much longer. The GPU is here! Hello! Thank you very much. Yes. Bye! After successfully mounting the GPU, I immediately ran to test how much faster it's gonna be. But by complete coincidence, on the very same day, I found out about Stable Diffusion WebUI by the peculiar name Automatic 1111 or 1111. No longer you need to type parameters by hand. Also so much settings, drawing mask for Inpainting, whatever it is. But the dog just vanished. It's gonna be a game changer. So, time to install it. Oh no, oh no, please, just work. I know it's a new technology and so many factors rely on each other, but please.
Three hours later.
Huh? Oh my god. Oh my god. It works. I can see every pixel in just about a second. No way. No freaking way. Come on. Come on. And that's how I first got addicted to generating. Each one is different, come on, but they are all aesthetically pleasing. I cannot decide which one to choose. Okay, but now let's go to space. From the moment I played it, I dreamed of creating my own browser-based space game. But I knew I would struggle with all these pictures. My 3D sucked, especially designing and hard surface modeling too. But these turned out to be really well designed, they looked reasonable. Then I started experimenting with different prompts, like concept art or warrior concept art. If you squint your eyes, it looks like one of those artworks from ArtStation. It even has an artist's signature. But if you dare to zoom on details, oh boy. By the way, I find it hilarious how it's making it look more and less professional at the same time. That's when I discovered the biggest AI weakness. In the vast majority of cases, they look horrible. But if you decide not to touch it with your hands, Stable Diffusion can sometimes even surprise you with its quality generations. And that's how I gained my first experience. But it was just the beginning. So I've already noticed there is a second tab and it says image to image. I wasn't using it, but now I'm curious. Let's see. There is one extra slider on this tab, denoising strength. That's when I quickly understood. It controls the level of changes on the image. So 0.5 means change it, but not too much. And here you have it. Unlimited variations using only noise from your previous image. It also happened on the very same day my friend visited me. And as you may guess, I couldn't resist showing him the technology that I just came into possession of. He asked me to type this cryptic, mysterious prompt. And although it looked more like a spell to summon a demon, I agreed, and we generated many variations. Some of them would make a great cover art for an album. Then we've tried to process it through a prompt consisting of names of some popular games. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Just a month ago, that would be completely impossible. And that's why I will probably never forget this day. Someone claimed he trained an entire model on images scraped from anime image board, and he called it Waifu Diffusion. But at the moment I had more interesting things to do, because I remembered something. How to disappear a dog, and the word Inpainting. So maybe there is a possibility to disappear any object. Just put on the mask. So you want an empty bench? And let's try it. It's like juggling with the results, but eventually you will find that perfect seed. I quickly understood Inpainting can be used in many different ways, besides disappearing stuff. But there was another big discovery just lurking around the corner. Someone found that the Polish artist Greg Rutkowski is directly responsible for enormous quality boost when added anywhere to the prompt. As you can probably guess, Greg was not happy about that. But the community was delighted. It was like discovering the greatest spell being mage at level 1, and Greg was like our deity. So we can easily earn him the first spot on our trend list. And then I discovered something interesting. Loop back. It's about sending back as an input image your last generation, and doing it automatically each time you generate, over and over and over. Like in a loop. Doesn't it look familiar? It's exactly what our imagination is doing. You can even change your prompt in the middle. It's now pencil drawing of a soap, but we can jump the topic and make it anime. We got him. Most of the images I generated were rather small, 512 pixels by default. At this resolution, Stable Diffusion seems to be the most stable. Any deviation from this, and bad things can happen. So you could imagine my surprise when I saw this. Yeah, I started going to Reddit regularly, and it blows my mind every time I visit the site. But I think I know what they used to achieve this. Like for example, take this image. We can paint outside its borders, and it doesn't need to be perfect. Diffusion models are great at filling the gaps. And what I just accidentally did is called outpainting. But the real power of inpainting lies in being able to make selective changes, like this one. Oh my god, it's so good. Control the time itself. Make whatever you want. Just be a creator. It doesn't matter what you believe. Sometimes it will come up with quite interesting designs. Wouldn't he make a cool enemy in The Lord of the Rings? And when I thought I achieved Inpainting mastery, I once again entered Reddit and stumbled upon this clip. I have no words, but I have a feeling this could be a new method of creating media in future. This guy is creating worlds like I always wanted. Wait, I have my world too, and I have the tools. Come on, let's do this! Let's start from improving my OC. Oh no, oh, don't look! What a crap! What if I just type his name into the prompt? I'm curious if there will be any resemblance. Well, at least it's a character. Let's improve my old tavern drawing I'm still so proud of. What the... He's resting after a very long journey. Okay, AI is good at abstract, so maybe my very old drawing of main menu is... And that's the moment when I gave up. Nothing was satisfactory. The landscapes were very nice, but there is a pattern in all of this. The more you want to get something specific, the more you have to fight. I hope it will soon improve, and we will get much more artistic control over the image, more than just pure randomness. To be honest, the best thing that happened is that randomly generated ancient language, made from the code written in JavaScript. So RTX 4090 finally launched with the same amount of VRAM, higher power consumption and the price nearly doubled. We can easily say it wasn't the greatest deal of all time. But you know what was? Having constant stream of inspiration here on Reddit, every day and for free. Well, maybe it's me who's impatient. Dreambooth training method, allowing every one of us 24GB peasants to train their own checkpoints. It was huge. Normally we would use textual inversion method, but it was slow and bad. Well, it was like telling a kid what to draw instead of giving him a reference image. Dreambooth was different, but at the cost of space, as checkpoints were really heavy just to train one subject. Corridors Digital made a video about that, when they appeared in the storytelling slideshow as a fantasy characters, and the video wasn't a clickbait at all. What if I used some of this to make a present for my dad on Christmas? That would be cool. And for inspiration, I always go to Reddit, and every time I open it, I feel the same. Wow. Amazement. And being overwhelmed at the same time. How are they doing it? Yeah, it started to be my go-to site. I begin to feel a little bit guilty of doom scrolling here so many times, but it was just too good and inspiring. Teflon Zuckergates. I've noticed a clear trend of taking a video and processing its frames through image to image, so I think we can at least add it to the list. Looking at stable diffusion inconsistencies between frames, people wanted video control so badly, and it shows. And here, it really surprised us. Meta released its first video model. Generating images was something new to us, but generating entire videos? Look, they are all consistent, there is no flickering. Imagine this flying dog causing quite a stir in the community, and for a moment people stopped looking at images. But for the real sensation, we only needed to wait a few more days. On the 6th of October, what came to me as a complete shock. A model used to generate very high quality images on NovelAI platform leaked. And where specifically it leaked, I don't need to say. People went crazy. Everybody wanted to emulate it as close to the original as possible. I rarely see discussion on GitHub on this scale. Look at this tiny scroll bar. It was triple B, big mess, big event, and overall big win for the community. But not for everyone. Automatic started implementing hypernetworks in his WebUI, the technology that happened to leak along with the model. It was a problem though, because GitHub repo was public and everyone could use it. So basically, a commercial technology made free, and so the fight began. conflict between community and stability and NovelAI escalated quickly. The biggest drama was on the rise. Automatic got banned from the forums and was accused of stealing. His WebUI guide was taken down. Moderators started taking control over the forum, which was supposed to be community-driven, and it really upset the community, and even some of the mods themselves. It was a war. For a few days, entire forum looked like this, and nothing seemed to be able to stop it. One day, I stumbled upon a link that said Rentry and expected some information. But not this. Rentry simply turned out to be the best way of distributing information about Stable Diffusion and its recent updates. It was easy to share and could be updated at any moment. There was some hard limit on characters, but it was huge. Imad apologized to Automatic on GitHub. That was unexpected to say the least, but people seemed to be happy, even judging by the sheer number of reactions. So, is the drama over then? We can hope so. There is a proposal to add extendable plugins to Automatic 11.11 WebUI. That was another big step in the Stable Diffusion ecosystem. Plugins would make it behave like a real extendable system. Now the UI could be extended by anyone, writing a plugin for just anything. And that's a surprise. 1.5, an upgrade to the base model, is released. But not by Stability, but Runway ML. They also had access to the model. But we quickly realized there was a conflict of interest with Stability AI. And so, it quickly got banned from Hugging Face. But many people have already downloaded the model, and Stability AI could only lose its reputation now. So they finally decided to leave it alone, allowing its return. The forum is released. Remember that morphing animations? From this moment you will get much more of that, whether you want it or not. And there's a trick. If you want more upvotes on Reddit, you add acid trip to the title. Frequency of it was enough to establish a place. Civic AI enters the game. At first, only as a domain, but it will soon become a great platform, where we can all download any model for free. Discussions about the release of the second version of Stable Diffusion were increasingly being brought up. The hype was real. Knowing what 1.5 can currently do, we expected something great, and we knew the resolution is gonna be higher. But now, I was presented with the chance to test AI in a real scenario for the very first time. 1 hour JavaScript mega tutorial I was preparing for a month. The irresponsible decision was made to generate illustration with a panda for each concept that needed to be presented. Don't ask me why. In total, I generated well over 1,000 images. Tutorial is completely free, but sadly only available in Polish. But that may change soon, as this is my first video in English. After generating so many images, I have to admit, I was completely drained. But hey, at least we leveled up. Yeah, now even DeviantArt wants it. To say their site was already in shambles would be an understatement, but now it's gonna be a whole new level, right? And just after 2 days, a new model entered the scene. At first glance, it looks like another anime model, but you would be so wrong. Anything V3 was something different. Quality of pretty much everything it generated was off the charts. No, I mean, it was pretty good. In worst case scenario, it had its own style, could generate pretty good hands, and had diverse output. You may say it beat NovelAI on every aspect. And you didn't need to wait long for someone to use it on a greater project. The first fully AI-assisted comic with a complete storyline, paintings and photographs. The comic sadly does not exist anymore. I've really tried to find it anywhere, and it seems impossible. I remember it being really good, even for today's standards. It was probably one of the few cases when AI art moved me. It really did. It's hard to believe it became lost media just like that. Okay, let's not get too emotional. And the next checkpoint is long-awaited Stable Diffusion 2.0 release. And it's not great. Sorry, but you cannot censor the model and expect community to be happy about this. What? They removed Greg Rutkowski's spell? They scraped artists' names from the dataset, so you cannot even get proper styles. And everything in the name of safety. Luckily, I didn't have to worry about safety. While working on my product, the new Anything model was quite uncensored, and it was great for landscapes. Well, the hidden part was, it always involved so much inpainting, if you wanted it to match your vision exactly. So mostly I focused on getting the right style and atmosphere. Then I started improving my old illustrations, and it was a mess. It was always changing so much from my original vision. In case of text to image, it was quite okay, but trying it with already made drawing was a pain. Come on, let him be old, it's not a beauty contest. I eventually grasped how to get older man. Of course, your usual handsome bearded man archetype. In the end, I still had to fix so many things manually. I used very low denoise values, not to change it too much, because I wanted to preserve most of the original style. And fully AI made art stinks from a kilometer. AI doesn't want to let it exist so badly. It is trying to turn every other than perfect proportions into liquid. So I think I have new name for it. In this peculiar time, there was another, even bigger release. Release that shook the world. This does not need an introduction. There were so many things to change, to think differently from that moment. ChatGPT was the first step ever to reach 100 million users in just 2 months. First million in just 5 days. That's faster growing than TikTok. And you know what's funny? It didn't even know what Stable Diffusion is. But it could, for example, help you improve your prompt, if you asked it politely. Yeah, that's it for the ChatGPT. Let's go next. Okay, quick with that. 2.1. It's still bad. Although an update, the model couldn't fix its predecessor's main problems with body anatomy. The model had its moments, and few posts about how it can even be useful, but that's it. It was quite good with landscapes, but people wanted more universal model, you know what I mean. And that's how Stable Diffusion 2 was mostly forgotten. Bora is the name of new method of training, smaller, faster and easier to distribute. So pretty much everything we needed. I think I can predict how it will end. Although LoRa was smaller in size, its impact was enormous. I haven't talked much about music AI, and the reason is, it was always a few steps behind. But let's make an experiment. Let's train Stable Diffusion on music. Or more precisely on spectrograms, graphical representation of music. Let's then convert one to another, and boom! Use Stable Diffusion to generate visuals. You can then convert to an audio. Oh no, I completely forgot about the Christmas present. There are like 2 days left and I still have no idea how to use Dreambuff. Okay, let's learn. Slowly but surely. There are many tutorials. This guy can help me. Okay, now I'm gonna steal some compositions. Yes, I can use it. I barely made it. Just basically inpainted. Stealth is great works, with a new model trained on my dad's face. That wasn't very creative of me, but my dad was really happy and surprised with the present. And everybody were shocked, how is that even possible? What kind of magic is that? A cheating? Yeah! Happy New Year! Automatic got unbanned from previously being banned. Wait, again? On the same day? Well, his GitHub repo just disappeared, but he's back, once again, with us and the community. A lot of models started to appear on CivitAI website. Many of them were mergers of other models, but some were fully trained checkpoints. Example of such checkpoint would be Dreamshaper, one of the more popular models on CivitAI. But there were more and will be even more. By the way, hands should be much better now. Not completely fixed, but better. And this trend will continue. And you know what will also continue? First action class lawsuit against Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. I remember there was a lot of humor on Reddit that day. Not necessarily because of the case, but the choice of words. But wait, how does really Stable Diffusion work? Isn't it basically remixing works that are stolen from artists? Yes And no, it is based on diffusion algorithm, so it's basically a machine for removing noise. And as a result, giving you an image you like or not. And that's why you see the name denoising. And it knows how to denoise because it was trained on many images. More specifically, image-text pairs. But those works cannot be directly stolen because checkpoints weighed about 2 gigabytes, and they were trained on over 2 billion images. So there is no way they could fit all that space in one checkpoint. But they could use an algorithm to tweak their parameters, and parameters, or weights, are what's creating an image. So that's where all those similarities come from. Finally, Automatic changed the license, and last remains of drama slowly dispersed. Now everybody was able to commit to the project, without worrying about some weird clause and having to plan another prison break. Now it became truly open source. But hey, there goes the greatest competitor. There were many stable diffusion web UIs, but one of them was exceptional at being Spaghetti Monster. I'm kidding. It pretty much allowed you to build anything from those little blocks called nodes, and it became a great competitor to Automatic 1111. And so people have split into 2 separate groups. This model supposedly allowed you to make edits in your image by telling AI what to change. Sounds crazy and very useful. And for some reason, people quickly forgot about this model. Maybe because next big release was just around the corner. And oh boy, it was big. Remember all that discussion about lack of control over your image? We can pretty much end this now. Welcome, ControlNet. It does exactly what its name implies. It controls. You have 8 different separate types of control. But what does it really mean? You can now scribble and make this. And you can take depth map from Blender and make this. And that's only an example of using 2 out of 8 control types. And the ControlNet extension for Automatic is already here, so we can finally use it in our favorite WebUI. Everyone is happy and the new era begins. ControlNet gave us what everyone asked for, more control over the final image. It was like image to image but on steroids. But who would come up with such an important technique? Yeah, that cat. Remember him. He will return with some other bangers later. This was a breakthrough, comparable to Stable Diffusion Release itself. Now we can make any model greater, and the new trend started. LoRa training became popular, and custom-made guides started to appear everywhere, like this one. They were usually quite comprehensive. And ControlNet trend continued. There must be some direct consequences of releasing so many new technologies recently, right? And yes, there were. Corridor Crew made an anime. Yes, the first ever anime with the help of AI. One day I opened YouTube and saw this. I asked myself, have this already started? Are we already in an era of AI-generated anime? Spoiler, no. But for some reason, these maniacs decided to use AI around the topic of hands, and in my opinion, they succeeded tremendously. By the way, check out their video. They describe the process in detail. Come on, I won't be any worse. I want to make use of this technology too, maybe experiment on people. Okay, let's play a game. On my fan page, I announced that every sketch they sent me will be converted to a full drawing. Or more precisely, our super intelligence will draw it for you. Because yes, we have access to all of this. And to my surprise, some people decided to send us their sketches. And that's the results. What wasn't immediately obvious, it was a little bit more work than one-click solution of simply using ControlNet. But in the end, I think it paid off nicely. GPT-4 was a big release. I cannot even stress it enough, but from that moment, I started to worry about the future. I'll be honest, I was supposed to ditch drawing completely, after realizing how quick this tech will spread across the whole world. Art as we know shall become an ancient history after that. No one would ever need to do things manually. But is it really the truth? Okay, maybe I shouldn't worry too much. So we have it. First open source, text-to-video model, available to the public. That instantly started a new trend. Now you could watch your loved celebrity doing almost anything imaginable. And this Shutterstock watermark was so persistent. But after that, expectations were so high that the progress started to feel like it's slowing down? But was it really? We all know it was inevitable. It finally came to this point. And they slowly started to appear. Is that even a problem? I'm not sure. But something starts to feel off. I mean, look at that. CivicAI, the site we all know and love, once home of great community models like RPG, Robo, Anything, Protogen, Dreamshaper, and many more, has become this. I can't decide what's worse, the fact what it became, or just how similar everything looks to each other. One-face syndrome has started to be apparent. I have nothing against waifus, I have created many myself, but this is just horrendous. It basically became DeviantArt, but for AI. Keeping up with all the news constantly was exhausting. There were so many updates, and most of them contribute little of value. Cracks started to appear. The more I need something specific, the more time it usually takes. Even with the newest models and ControlNets, I needed so many hours to do this improvement works. And it is low resolution and probably full of artifacts I'm not even aware of. Automatic WebUI updates began to work not fully as advertised. Technical problems like bleeding and banding were plaguing each generation without an easy solution. I'll be honest, LoRa training was so complicated to me, and even with all that resources available, most of the time you would spend on testing, not creating. Because how should anyone know what parameters would fit your specific needs? Lack of consistency, lack of streamlined solution for making diverse group of people. Add to that morphing and randomness. There was also a reproducibility problem, so the same prompt with exactly the same parameters will yield different results on different machines, depending on GPU or even software version you're currently using. Prompt engineering is kinda overrated. You can't fix bad models or architectural deficiencies with a prompt, no matter how great and magical prompt you will find. It's just too random to know anything for sure. The only thing you can do is to make everything look even more the same, by reducing the space of possible outcomes. So you want to diversify it by downloading many different models. You're running out of disk space, and everything you do is practically making one-shot images that's gonna be left without any possibility of editing. And all of that with complete lack of support for transparency, for layers, for anything. Yeah, I admit, the technology spoiled me too much, and I need some rest. And so, I stepped away from AI, resting for a month. But it was a good rest. I returned for a while to generate content for my site, to once again try if AI can be any of help, and for some reason, although results weren't fully satisfying, I stick to it. Like I wanted to give AI a chance? But let's get back to the timeline. First use of real-time stable diffusion from Scribble. Everything up to this moment was click generate and wait. And if you're lucky and have good graphics card, you wait less. No one would even think about having it real time. Not in like 5 or 10 years. This guy is probably using RTX 4090 overclocked to its limits. But as we can see, it happened. And it will probably happen more than once. The speed will definitely increase. This new trend appeared suddenly, one day, and we all started seeing those pictures. QR code was one of those things you would never expect to appear. It was all possible thanks to a special kind of ControlNet, QR code monster. But what's even more interesting is that most of these images worked with QR code readers. Animate Diff, technology turning most text-to-image models into animation generators. Examples seem quite promising, like finally something to solve the problem of frame inconsistencies between generations. And Animate Diff looks great at doing this. Well, most of the time, or sometimes, if you know how to set it up, but I don't. Extension for automatic seems to be very limited. In the end, I managed to do something like that, but it pales in comparison to what people have done on Reddit. Well, I am the noob here. Let's go to the next checkpoint. This should be the real Stable Diffusion 2. SDXL release. Bigger, slower, and not so great on the start, but keeps getting better with new fine-tunes and LoRa's. It had a great native resolution at 1024, but it was not without its problems. For example, this pattern is especially visible on the base model, and this pattern, and this pattern, and this pattern. Well, just look at this. JPEG compression artifacts. To eliminate it, they recommend a refiner. The problem is that it's basically the second SDXL model you have to load. So bye bye memory, and speed too. New WebUI, but this time it's for simplicity. Focus was created and released by... oh. So, here we go again. Released by Chinese Tencent, IPadapter was like a missing piece of the puzzle. When ControlNet allowed you to control shapes, IPadapter was dedicated to style, and I mean consistent style transfer. Let me show you some examples. This is Big Bad Orc, and he's portrayed in appropriate style, but we can bend it somewhat. Similarly to the denoising strength slider, we can apply less or more style from the reference image. IPadapter will take care of the rest. A new unexpected trend is here. Not immediately obvious, but it was basically just a continuation of QR code monster. It started from this spiral town, when someone discovered QR code can be used differently. And then it spiraled into madness. First mention of poisoning art, using special technique called Nightshade. So models trained on your art could get poisoned and start outputting garbage instead of subject they were trained on. Sounds scary. Let's get out of here. By the way, I really ran away. Also from my community on Discord, I disappeared. Suddenly the craziest idea popped into my mind spontaneously. What if I used the newest available models to generate art for my game? I mean, my first MMO game. That sounds like my dream is coming true. And that's the great opportunity to prank my community. There were already prototypes of point-and-click games made with Stable Diffusion generated content, and they look great. But in my case, the idea was crazy simple. Hide, create a game, and create some puzzles so they can engage in solving them, and eventually solve the mystery of my disappearance. That's gonna be a real test. First AI real-time workflow directly from inside of Krita. This was huge. Krita is a free software, and with addition of these tools, it gets really powerful. And you know what? Well, let's use it. Let's design some locations and characters, puzzles, labyrinths, and the game itself. Whoa, it's gonna be so cool! By the way, SDXL models are becoming pretty great, and they no longer need a refiner because it was merged, and all successive models will use this approach. Turbo models start entering the scene. Stable Diffusion Turbo. It's an SDXL version that can generate coherent image in just 2 steps instead of 20. And the cost is that quality and diversity are a little bit degraded. Also, it cannot use negative prompts. The game was doing quite well, and I generated many images. There was a lot of selection, but overall SDXL models did great. Now it was time to finally put it to the test. So you enter the site like normally, but something is a little bit off. But what is it? In short, there is no rest of the site. You begin to scroll and read line by line, eventually discovering that I left the note, and in the note there is an explanation for everything. Yes, I was kidnapped by evil Santa. But luckily, there is a hint to the password, but it's on the first server we ever created. It's gonna be a challenge. At the most bottom floor, a set of doors waits silently, holding their secrets. A magical gate that opens only on one correct word. And we are inside. The real fun is just beginning. You're the wisp. A soul, let's call it. You can click on stuff and see messages informing you what to do. You quickly realize there is a barrier, and some doors behind it. Come on, what's behind them? I wanna know. So it's telling me to create a new character. Why is it minion statue? Whoa! A lot of diverse selection. Let's pick it. It's so cute. Okay, now we're gonna destroy the crystal. That's creating a barrier. But that was my perspective. But what about the players? They are already here. More and more people are starting to solve it, getting the password. And they all start gathering here. Oh, I should have added a chat feature. Wait, but they have Discord. They're a community. I bet they already sitting on the voice chat, discussing strategies together. Boy, I was wrong. Man, that's misleading. They were never gonna... Wait. And after just 2 hours, they did it. And it was time for it. They are vanishing. That means they are entering some location. Most likely, the catacombs. But how does it look like from the player's perspective? I'll show you. After you click, you cannot deny it. You have to agree. Okay, now I just leave it to you, and your imagination, and your senses, because it's the coolest part. So the character is basically killed, it becomes inaccessible, and you revert to being a wisp. It's hard to say what I felt about the game. On one hand, it seemed very entertaining. For me, for everyone. And it was quite clear, and I feel like I learned a lot while doing all of this. On the other, no one even told me it was cool or something. Let's make another. There was not even a single mention of it later. Of course, if I didn't mention it myself. No one even asked how I made it. Maybe because it was involving AI? It's hard to say, but it definitely influenced my views of using it in any future project. But hey, let's find something positive. We leveled up. Again. Yay! And music space finally gets disrupted. Suno showed us that music AI is slowly starting to catch up to the trend. Thousands of hours of training gave birth to the successor of SDXL. Pony Diffusion was not a model just for generating ponies. That would be crazy and inefficient. Instead of telling you what it was, I will show you on a graph. It had one serious drawback though. For generation to look at least decent, you had to include this string at the beginning. Yeah, I know, it looks awful, but despite all of that, people still preferred Pony as a model of choice. Let me guess why. Remember him? He just upgraded Automatic and called it Forge, and now everybody wants to use it because it's faster and consumes less memory. Okay, it doesn't support some plugins, but who cares? And so, the group split again into 4. Nightshade has its official public release. Now artists started to think for real about poisoning their art before putting anything on the internet. And I'm completely not surprised. They have absolute right to do this, and even should defend themselves from the dangers of AI. But sadly, it didn't work that well. Every time the model changed, you needed a different technique. By the way, how many artists would bother typing it anyway? If it's gonna be less than 5%, it's a matter of debate if it will ever have any visible results. Plus, quality of work itself drops considerably for each layer of poisoning, so it may just not be worth it. And I continued being AI evangelist, talking to people how great it is. But with time, my own doubts started to accumulate, and I was no longer so confident about it. In short, I was feeling empty. Why? I don't even know. Maybe it's that one part of me that has been lost. On my server, I was gradually integrating my original works with AI-generated ones more often, without saying it or being transparent. It was tempting at the beginning, but turned out to be not so great idea. I started feeling disconnected from the project. But it was not only me who felt that way. People who I invited shared the same sentiment, and it was visible through reactions and comments, or lack thereof. It was no longer my work of art. Sometimes I would enter Reddit just to... Huh? Stable Diffusion 3 is gonna be released? Examples are amazing. Prompt comprehension is great. Colors, compositions, details, character consistency, oh my god, there is still hope. Oh, and it's different architecture, so the old problems will be gone. In the meantime, the cat released another. This time, it's a module for generating transparent images. You know, like PNG without background. That was previously not possible. So the cat, once again, blessed us with his creation. Times were looking good. Access to SD3 should open shortly. Yes. New examples were coming and they were great and promising. And the humor of Reddit was blessed by another unexpected trend. Did you know my son invaded Balkans? My son made a quantum computer out of peanut butter. My son put Reddit on a PC made of plastic. My son's building a sentry. A lot of my sons recursively building themselves. My son made a sculpture, made a nuclear bomb out of scrap metal, made himself from plastic bottles, made a huge pile of cash from fairy art commission, built a pyramid all by himself. My son started his first franchise. My son built CVTI. My son opened his first chocolate factory. Delicious. My son just saved his community. My son found the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. My son helped with African space program. And I left the best for last. My son is smarter than... He made 5 plastic bottles out of gorilla. Sadly, all good things come to an end eventually, and so does our saga of Stable Diffusion. Stability is in a deep trouble. Many high-ranked people left the company recently. Many researchers are no longer working on the models, so does it mean Stable Diffusion 3 will never get released? Well, now it's obvious. Imad, the main guy behind all of this, resigns from the company. This cannot be a good sign. But let's jump to another topic for a moment. Remember that? The forum. I wouldn't want to spoil your mood, but there was a Pink Floyd artistic contest for the best animation, and the simplest automated deforum video won the first prize. I don't know what to say, but I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. Well, at least there are rumors. SD3 will be released as an open source model. So, the cat released another banger. It was Relight. Relight allowed to change lighting of a scene without touching the rest. And then we got Tooncrafter, similar to a bunch of people working on in-betweens in animation. Pretty cool, I must say, but also pretty useless in real production. They are basically experiments, so my hype quickly faded away. But now, it was time to hype it once again, because Stable Diffusion 3 was now about to be really... It was bad, but it had cool organic logo. But seriously, anatomy wasn't the only problem here. Its license was so badly defined, people were afraid to use it for anything, and it was even banned from CVTI. So, case closed, AI art is dying, artists have won. But it's not the end. ConfUI creator resigned from Stability AI, and the fate of the company looks kinda grim by now. This is the end. Yes, and I'm happy. I can finally rest? Oh my god. And maybe return to the good old times, when we had full control over anything. To once again rediscover the joy of creation. To reunite with my friend I have been drawing with for so long. Those were the days. Even though he was much better than me, and often laughed at my work. I started feeling nostalgic, not only for the good old times, but also for the beginning of AI, and how different it was back then from what we experience right now. For the next few weeks, the trend was clear. AI-generated videos everywhere. They weren't bad, there was just a lot of spam. Much less of stuff related to Stable Diffusion, because, let's face it, what even is Stable Diffusion right now? Unfortunately, there wasn't any open source video model with results that good. My last desperate attempt was using everything available to let AI learn my style. and then output it like my own art, without a possibility of someone recognizing it could in any way be generated. Mission was to remove all visible artifacts. I closely examined every line, every pixel, searching for distortions and artifacts, tweaking the parameters to see if it improved the final result. This process was so draining and unforgiving. I hallucinated details to say it was okay, then suddenly after 10 minutes it was utter garbage. One example image I stated was perfect, but each time I looked at it, I noticed something new, more problems, more artifacts, to the point I could look at one work for hours. And it spread to every domain of my life. I started searching for artifacts on each image I found on the internet. But I was determined to do this. I even started learning ConfUI so deeply I can understand every part of it, to create an ultimate machine, a perfect extension of my mind. Of course, I gained a lot of experience while doing all of this, but not without a cost. My AI sensor was becoming very sensitive to practically any sign of AI-generated content. Before I even knew, I started helping artists by shouting when I spot something suspicious, especially when the artist wasn't transparent about using it. And then I realized many people are already doing this. It was just something cool about it, balancing the already dire situation. And here we would normally end our journey, but there was one more release. Well, it's just another model, sorry. Wait, it's good, it's very good. It's so good, by the way, it started a trend. The last trend on our list. And who released it? Who are those guys? Okay, they are basically researchers who left Stability AI, creating Black Forest Labs. Flux was a humongous model. To use it, you needed a very high-end PC. Luckily, I bought my card, but it was still painfully slow. Optimizations eventually came, but still. Flux was a model focused more on realism than artistic flexibility. It was like the greatest stock image generator. Instead of searching for your image, you just typed it into prompt, and it was mostly quite accurate because of great prompt adherence. People called it the real Midjourney killer, and they were quite right. Eventually, they even managed to port LoRa's into it, although researchers told the community it's not gonna be possible. Flux eventually took the crown and quickly got popular. It was everywhere. And I was fine. It was just not for me. Although I would sometimes use it as a quick reference finder to help me with drawing properly. Just fixing minor anatomy problems seemed okay. But every time I let AI generate my vision, I felt bad. To the point, I finally decided to... Man, so many hours, days, weeks, months, years into this project. So many memories, emotions. Remember creating every piece of it, every line, every story. So many great conversations. Ranivius, I hope we will meet someday. And then something incredible happened. By removing myself from the community and gathering all the knowledge and experience from the beginning and the end, I somehow managed to get into the last level. I stopped thinking about AI altogether. It was still there, just not a part of me.